Trust the Force, Luke.
Sometimes truth isn't good enough.
I feel the need for speed.
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
Because it's their time. Their time. Up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming back to Werner Wolfson on this impromptu Sunday evening live stream. Schedules got the better of us. Medical necessity got the better of us this week. So we've decided to wrap up our coverage of Andor Season 2 tonight live. That way everybody can get it done. Go over to watch whatever fiasco Last of Us Season 2 is going to give us next. And we'll cover that as we usually do in our regular time frame. But tonight we're just going to bring in King Z and give you guys the breakdown on Andor. Oh, gee, this was not 13, 14, 15. This was 10, 11, 12, right?
10, 11, 12, yes.
Cool. Yeah, so I say we jump right into episode 10. Let's not waste anybody's time. I think.
Wait.
Signal from the back. Okay, now the King's telling me to wait.
Before we move forward, I think this deserves something special. Something special we haven't done before. We've been surrounded with such crap and stuff shoved down our throat telling that we're supposed to like it. And then now we finally have a series and it's come to an end. So I say we raise our glass.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Wait, you didn't give me the prompt. Actually, I don't have a glass. I'm classy that way. I got to crack some tin.
Okay.
Here. Andor Season 2.
And put that beautiful man up on that screen.
Yeah, he needs to make an appearance. To
That's
Tony, everybody.
Right. To Tony Gilroy, thank you for
Thanks,
actually caring and giving us something worth watching.
It's an example everybody should strive to hit in the franchise. Cheers. Ooh. Barley grape, not that bad. Woo!
Ooh, that hit a little harder.
I think I want an orange one and not the grape one. The grape one was a little disappointing.
Oh.
But the fridge is all the way upstairs. So
I hit the straight rum. So.
Ooh. Yeah, you warned me you were going to go down that route. So when the Oracle has to drag you out of the chair, and we just sub in somebody from like church group or something that knows about the show, and I'll make friends. You know what I mean? We'll expand the Winter Wolf's Den network, and we'll see what happens. Maybe the Armoress is still awake. It's past her bedtime, so I don't think we can get a hold of her at this hour.
Mm-hmm.
She's a bit of an early bird. Got that those early nursing jobs can be like that, which is rough. But so I appreciate you coming on at a weird time on a Sunday night to do this. Like we were saying,
the show deserves it. It deserves whenever we.
The show deserves more. Extending the gratitude to you and to the Oracle for doing it at an odd time to accommodate the changing complexity of the caregiving at home landscape that is my life at times. So we appreciate that. But having polished all of the shine off of everybody, I'm going to polish in one day. We do have 3 banger episodes to kind of talk about, and if you wanted to share with anybody the text I sent you after I watched episode 10, I wouldn't be opposed. That one particular one where you're like, really?
So if you guys remember to our last review of Chapter 3, Episodes 7, 8, and 9, he said that 8 was the greatest episode that he has ever seen, and he gave it a 10. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to give you his first 11 episode. He texted me and said this is the greatest show he's ever seen. So we have an 11 episode breakdown for you, and it just so happens to be episode 10.
And I stand behind that feedback. I've never been in any Star Wars show that we've watched outside, and the asterisk is always Luke at the end of Mandalorian season 2, like that, and that's 3 minutes of like Deus Ex that they just crammed in there that like lit the internet on fire.
Yep.
When you eliminate that, and you're dealing with like the sample size and not that outlier, episode 10 might be end to end the best episode of any Star Wars show they've ever done. I found it gripping.
Mm-hmm.
I found it smart. I found the pacing perfect. I got flashbacks, and the only type of flashback I ever want to see going forward is how they did it, where they filled in gaps that I had to think of. I had to like headcanonize on my own for the 5 years that this show has been, or 4 years, however long this show has been around. I think if we got out of season 2 of this show and we didn't ever learn if Clea was Luthen's real daughter, or if they were like a married couple, or like whatever their relationship is. I wanted to know how they met, and I finally got it, and it was pretty bang on good. It's kind of what I suspected. I'm guessing you probably had a similar suspicion that he probably had rescued a child from some nonsensical thing that went down. The circumstances were kind of cool. I probably didn't have those pegged exactly. You know, I figured maybe she would have just been a victim of the Empire, but I maybe only tangentially thought ever that he was part of the early Empire's atrocities.
Yeah.
So, no, that it was probably the best episode of anything they've ever done. And,
it was heartfelt. It had meaning. It had purpose, and we saw the proper death for who he was in the show.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of takes on that, but I really want to get your thoughts on it because I need you to pick a lane for me, honestly. Like, I love how they resolved that. Do we have the
Oh, we gotta hit the spoiler alert there.
Because it's all spoilers from here.
All spoilers from here on out.
Okay, there it is. It's all right, there it goes. And now we've been clipped and gift. All right, here we are. I like that they went the way they went. At first, I was like, no. But then I realized restraint has been their entire MO this entire series. They never went big or bombastic. They gave Luthen Rael his, one speech per block of 6 episodes that he appeared in, and that was it. He was never going to pull a lightsaber and duel Partagaz. He was never going to fist fight Krennic. Nothing like that was ever going to happen.
Even though he joked about it when they left the gala.
He should have killed him when we were up there.
Yeah,
that would have been a sniper shot from like 6 blocks over, though. You know what I mean? He might have just put a tag on him, then had a droid homing missile. I don't know. But they cleverly, quietly gave him a death scene with no dialogue, not one word,
not one word spoken.
And I'm like, this is a case where, as the viewer, as the audience, as the regular guy, you just got to be okay with they told the story the way they wanted to, and it might not have been your beat sheet of what you wanted.
Yeah.
But it's still good what they did. Like, my beat sheet might have been like we were talking. I wanted him to get interrogated, maybe by Dedra, who fails, and then Partagaz comes in and we can see dueling ideologies for a little bit, and then a death scene. We didn't get that, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
It doesn't mean it's bad at all. And I think they said every word they needed to say through the whole episode. That's what the whole episode's about, is that final disconnection and the kiss on the forehead. The whole episode is just built to that, which is the perfect episode, because everything that lined up goes to the finale of the episode and the finale of this character and this man. So,
yeah, I like that they went the quiet, restrained route, and it's worth watching. And I'll say this, I've liked the Clea character from the beginning, even when she was at her peak bitchiest in season 1. You could always tell she was written in a way where there was concern and respect for Luthen Rael underneath her RBF. Mm-hmm. She never subverted any of his moves. And I use the word move specifically there because that ties into the last word that he said to her when they parted company. We get that in the flashback of the first time he told her to move.
Yeah.
So that was a nice little tie into a flashback, But he was always she always had that relationship for him built out of a respect because he did save her life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He didn't just leave her to his troops. He didn't kill her when he probably should have like under orders.
Followed orders.
Follow orders, right? Commit the atrocity. So I have liked her from the beginning. I wish they gave her more to do after episode 11-ish when Andor shows up and does his bit.
I think it was a perfect write-off for her. I think it was a perfect write-off for her.
I wanted more. I mean, we'll talk about more in 11, but I've liked her character from the beginning. She was a great right hand of the rebellion. When we talk about strong female characters, I want everybody at Lucasfilms to refer to Mon Mothma and Clea, not Vel, not Cinta, not I don't know.
I mean, even Vel was a good, strong female character because she had her vulnerability. Yeah, Vel was a more complex character than it looked like when she was on Aldhani.
Yeah. In
Because
season one,
she was playing a role that she thought she had to play, but when you found out more about who she was, you did see the vulnerability in Vale. So I mean, she's still a strong female character.
True. I think more of what I was aiming for was I feel like in season two season two kind of passed her by. They didn't really give her anything impactful
Yeah, that's
to
true.
do outside of the weapon heisting on Gorman. Because in this block of episodes here, she's really just on Yavin, not doing anything.
She's doing drill sergeant stuff.
Pretty much. But none of it was interesting. You know what I mean? But that's like a minor critique of like that character. But again, she's a great addition there. Dedra, obviously the kind of strong female character is the Disney
Strong bad guy female character. Different distinction.
Which is rare because really she went through. I mean, let's talk about Dedra for a minute. Like she thought she had Luthen dead to rights, and that scene in the antique shop is
perfect. Yes. They're back and forth. He knows that she knows. She knows that he knows. But they still play it out perfectly.
All subtext, all double speak, the whole thing. You know, hey, are any of these things in here fake? Oh, what a wise question. Two of them are questionable.
Yeah.
Little on the nose, but it's so dripping with that kind of animosity. It's good.
It's real good. And the actors brought it to a whole nother level too, just by their performance of it. I mean, these last 3 episodes were like they took 4 months to film, and like they just took 3 months of that 4 months to film these last 3 episodes to take that much attention to detail. Because these last 3 to wrap it up, I think goes above and beyond what the series needed, but it was exactly what all the fans of this series needed.
Yeah, I needed to see more of the character arcs come to a close, and they really did close every single one of them off.
Yep.
Like right down the list when we get through like chapter 12 in particular, and a bunch of them end. But that scene in the shop, I love it because of all the performances are great. You get the tension in the dialogue that she chooses, and dude, she's eating it up. Like she's like, "Oh, I finally got this motherfucker." Like you could just see it in her, and then he shows her the one piece, you know, oh, this one, it's a such and such bleeder, the dagger, and I'm like, oh, dude, he didn't pick that up on accident, sweetie.
No,
he could have picked up a necklace. He didn't do it. He picked up the thing called a bleeder.
Yeah.
You know,
and I like that they played it out too. She's like, well, what about it? Is it fate? He's like, it's still out. We don't know.
Yeah, right. It's like that whole scene is that Family Guy skit, like, come on, like this whole thing is that, you know. And of course, right before she shows up, there, you know, he's trying to burn the operation. He sent Clea on ahead. Hey, take these 10 names or whatever. This is what Lonnie told me. We're going to talk about Lonnie in a minute because we just kind of opened on this scene here because it's probably one of the best scenes outside of the I'll call it the goodbye scene. You know what I mean? That's probably the best. But he's burning the operation in the back. He poured acid or something into like the radio, and he's trying to like burn all the contacts, the transmission logs, all that good stuff. And when she finally springs the trap on him, they got some banger dialogue in there. And then it culminates, obviously, him trying to kill himself. It goes to the gut wound. I'd have gone with the throat myself. I really wanted to die. The abdominal thing, a little too painful, a little too long. But she hits him with the dialogue that's like, you know, there's a whole galaxy out there. There's a whole rebellion out there. You're going to tell us all about it. And he's like, yeah, no, it's out there. I'm not going to tell you nothing. And she realizes finally that he's like, she can see the smoke burning out from the back. So she calls in the assets to like shut that down, recover what they can, rescue him. But the dialogue that I loved about in that scene, right? Not just the part where she calls him disgusting and he says there's a whole galaxy out there ready
to discuss you.
Because that's a mic drop moment by itself.
No, the best one, I know which one you're going for too, is where she goes, I couldn't wait to meet you. And he's like, and I've known you all along. How sad is that?
Because it's exactly what that whole scene was all about. And there's another crazy good line in there too. It's the line where she says, oh dude, I just had it. There's a galaxy out there to discuss. Oh dude, he says something about the very notion of freedom terrifies you. And she scoffs and she's like, freedom? You don't want freedom. You want chaos for everyone except you. You want anarchy. And I'm like, again, we did get some dueling philosophies because you got to remember, Dedra's not a two-dimensional mustache twirling typical Disney villain. She believes what she's saying. She believes she's the good guy in her story.
Yeah,
You know?
and if you go back to episode 8, you see her break too.
Right.
So what they're doing does weigh on her, but she still believes she's doing it for the greater good.
Now, this could have been my eyes playing tricks on me, but did Dedra look thinner to you in these scenes? Like she's starting to waste away a little bit, little bags under the eyes. Maybe the hair and makeup did their job the right way. Like, because it's a year after Cyril's dead, killed in the massacre. Maybe her life is starting to ravel a little bit.
Yep. And that's why I think it took her so long to actually pull the snare of the trap, because she wanted to hear all of this.
Yeah, I think so too. I do love the it's a payoff, very distant payoff, but the artifact she brings in is what do they call it? The it's basically like a
Star Patch.
Star Path, right, from Andor episode 1, whatever.
Episode 3. Well, technically he is. Yeah, he introduced it in episode 2, and then it was in episode 3 when they were making the deal.
Right. Luthen and Cassian, right?
Yep.
I thought that was nice. That was a nice little throwback there, a little Easter egg. Like, hey, we appreciate you guys watching, you know? So I love that, man. I ate all of that up. I ate up the very beginning scene, or I think it was the beginning scene, where Lonnie's on the park bench and he's called for like the secret meeting with Luthen. I'm like, dude, this is all right out of a spy thriller. Contacts pushed out in the open, you know?
That was the first major scene. Like, you had the setup scene because you had the radio going off, the big you rang the big bell.
Yeah, you rang the big one, So,
and them getting ready for the meeting, trading pistols, and then going out to it.
And she warned him too. She was like, you know, this isn't right. Like, you know, the route's not good. There was construction. He's like, yeah, we're all out of perfect. And she smiles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, these characters have a bond. It's so fleetingly rare in this franchise, but they have one.
And it's exactly what Andor told him what was going to happen. If he's like, you need to come, and he's like, there is no Yavin for me.
Right. We've known that for a long time. We knew that was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So he has the meeting with Lonnie. Lonnie's like, yeah. So I've had like security clearance from Dedra. I've had access to her shit for like a year. And so here's a list of nouns you're going to want to write down. And they basically all amount to Death Star. But we don't hear the word yet.
No.
They use that in episode 11 when Krennic shows up for the interrogation.
Yep.
Right? So, but we all know what it's all been about, more or less. You know, if you've been paying any kind of attention, you could have figured it out. But they're still sorting it out. So Lonnie's like, you know, my wife, my daughter, I need to know where we're going. And Luthen gives them the Green Mile, you know, the mice and men, the fat of the land. Tell me about the Rabbits George bit. Yeah, we're all gonna be safe there. It's cool. Well, the next frame is Luthen walking away and people playing in a park or some bullshit. And when we pan back over, there's just a body slumped on the bench.
Yep. Just
probably
like
wasn't the Imperials.
Just like a Cold War spy thriller.
Right. It probably brought him in for the hug and
gave
him a blaster bolt to the heart, and Lonnie's just slumped out. Done. Cooked. Toast. Oh, good stuff. It's called. Everything about this is Cold War. Commissars, Soviet KGB stuff. That's how we roll on the ISB. Man, what a great opening to that, and then just to shift right into like action mode, because we just bypass right into it. Clea, the minute she sees the ambulance wheeling Luthen's body out of the shop, right? She's like, "Ah, crap." She knows what she's got to do.
I think that was the plan from the start. I think they knew what was going to happen, especially after he told her that Dedra's already contacted Tactical.
Oh, yeah, no,
and they're coming for you.
She knew the bus was on the way, but what I'm saying is she knew she had to, if there's an ambulance bringing him out, it means he can't be taken. You know what I mean? Like if he's brought out in a body bag, that's one thing. But she knows she has to activate Plan B now. And Plan B, for anybody watching that might have been hopeful, was never a rescue operation. If you had any illusions of that, you were dead ass wrong. That was never going to happen. You know, there was no. It struck me. If you thought that, it was kind of like having that naivety at the end of Braveheart. We're thinking like William Wallace's guys were going to show up as he was being dismembered.
Yeah.
Now the whole point was he had to scream freedom and win the crowd over nonsense. Like that. That's there was no rescue coming. But I liked it. I love that she basically has to do the slick John Wick, Joel Terminator in the hospital thing to a degree, but she's 10 times smarter. Yep. Love it. Tell me about her breaking into the hospital, because I thought that
Well,
was
like
dope as
first
hell.
she comes in like overdressed, and then she gets into the locker room. She finds this spare pair of scrubs, which I do love that she didn't find in the very first locker she opened up. She had
nice.
yeah.
Love the hacker bit.
Yeah, she had technically it was a second one, but I mean, still, it had to look and like dodge people working there.
Yep.
And then she's trying to get to the floor. She's like, I'm a nurse. I got to get to this floor. And they're like, this one's blocked off. And they're just looking at her like, we're not budging on this.
No.
And then she gets like someone who's in a wheelchair and gets her to get through another part. And then she finally has to blast somebody to get onto the floor.
In the back stairwell, right? The
Yeah.
surgeon's entrance.
Yeah.
And then she shoots a couple more people. One more ISB guard, and then a stormtrooper straight in the face, which was kind of a good shot. But she's slick, though, because she had also concurrently set up the distraction the diversion outside the parking garage.
And they just ran by her when she got on the floor. Like, no one thought, what is she doing on the floor? They're like...
Dude, she's a nurse in scrubs looking terrified and scared until they all walked by, and then it was...
And then there was one more guy who was left behind that did a blaster bolt.
door.
Then she pulled him out of the line of sight, pulled his weapon back, completely
She
smart.
She pulled the body out of the hallway. That's what I would have done.
And then, during all of this, you're also getting flashbacks of like her growing up and her training and her making that conscious decision because I think it was them. They were on a planet. It was a nice looking planet.
They had a few segments in the flashback cut.
Yeah, and they're going to push the button to kill the troops on the bridge, and he like gave it to her, and she goes to push it, and then he takes it and he pushes it, and then that's when she pushes the button to start the whole distraction, her to get in there. I mean, it was masterfully done. Like I said, the whole episode built to this last second, where she goes into the droid that's like fits in his chest and keeping him breathing and disconnects it.
It was a ventilator. I thought, because I love the tech on this show. I love how it looks all old and outdated, but it's like retro future, kind of like what I hope we get out of Fantastic Four next month. It looked like a ventilator because the top part of it was doing like compressions down. The hoses were contracting like a pump, and then pushing, and then retracting them back down. So it's definitely their version of like life support, like an iron lung, old school iron lung. Cool shit. I loved it. But she unhooked that sumbitch without question. Believe that. Yeah. She shut the blinds.
Oh, she closed her eyes, and it took her a second. Like it was that reservation that she had.
It wasn't long. She knew she had to because she had been trained. You know.
And she gave him the kiss on the forehead, and then you just saw him flatline. And then the end of the episode was even better. As he was dying, they slowly faded to black. Yeah. So when it was black is when he died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a bunch of good stuff there. Those cuts to the to her growing up give us his background finally. You know, his real original name was Lear. It's Rail spelt the other way. You know, nice little turnaround there. He must have been. I didn't recognize his uniform, but I'm guessing it's just some adjunct Imperial.
It was that, or he was a local militia that was told to do something.
That's what I was thinking, like the security force corporate security, but different that we saw in the beginning of season 1. But dude, responsible for enough atrocities to throw him into a bottle and just be like, make it stop, which I think was the title of the episode.
Yes, it was. Make it stop.
Mm-hmm. You know, so we.
And then he was a dealer too, because he was trading like antique type stuff to get money so they could eat and then to move on.
Which I thought was a clever bit too, because she has an active role in pushing for better prices and playing the role, because they have that one good walk away scene where she's like, it's the first time he's called her his daughter, and she's like, "Am I your daughter now?" And he's like, "When it's useful."
Yeah.
But then he realizes that might have been her. See, he's not one-dimensional either. He realizes that might have actually been hurtful. He's like, I didn't mean to upset you. And then she goes, I'm not upset. I'm just hungry. And then he gets that they're cool. And he holds up the cash and he's like, and smiles and says, like, let's eat. And then she smiles back at him. See, guys, smiles aren't banned in a galaxy far, far away. You can actually emote like a rational human being and not just be a miserable piece of shit every time you're on camera. Just throwing that out there. It's possible. You know, because scenes like that absolutely sold me on this is the kind of little girl that would grow up into her late 20s, early 30s and be the right hand of a guy that built a rebellion from scratch. Yeah. She'd be hard as effing nails and she'd get the job done because she'd listen and learn and then have some initiative and make some great decisions. You know what I mean? She's intelligent.
Yes.
So I completely buy them together in tandem. They're Joel and Ellie better than Joel and Ellie in season 2. There, I said it. That's exactly what they should have been. And they missed the boat on that. That's the last comp I'll make on that. But I did like that montage. I did like that he gave her the one speech at the end of that flashback, where he's backing off of intervening in the firing squad that's about to go on the atrocity.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, how can you not care? How can you walk away? And he's like, yeah, you hate them, but you take that hate and you bank it until you know what to do with it. And when I tell you to move, you move. And then he walks away about 10 feet. He's like, move. And then
she follows.
Moves.
Yeah, because she's talked about, like, is this how your plan of victory is just walk away? And he was like, it's pretty much telling her, you got to pick your fight when you can win.
You're going to lose and lose again and lose again.
And lose again.
Right. And then someday, if you live long enough, you won't. Like that's about as cold hard truth as you're going to get. And I love that because she got it. She didn't argue the point for 15 minutes. She didn't come up with a better plan, because that's stupid. She was just a regular kid until the now Empire destroyed her wherever she lived. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, she didn't grow up in a world fighting zombie. Oh, damn it, I comped again. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I thought that was a solid episode of them. The best episode of a show that didn't even have the title character in it.
Yep.
Which is the thing about this show, man. Everybody says it. He's the least interesting character on this show. And I think episodes like this just kind of prove it. Not that he's bad, but she's just not the star.
See, it's like that other show that has a title character and then they're not in it. And it's like still bad. This one is that Andor is the glue is the one that brought all these together. How these stories all kind of intertwine. Luthen and Andor kind of takes over where Luthen left off as the kind of the catalyst for everything. Because he's the one who, if we go to, I'm going to call it de facto season 3. Yes, there is a season 3 and it's called Rogue One.
Yep. And it dovetails right up into that. Like,
who called it? Who called it?
You called it, but I think we all kind of had a sniffle of that, especially when they put us on the abbreviated timeline, which I have some thoughts of, because now, having seen the end of this show and even having just seen episode 10 and like, okay, so we wrapped up Luthen, right? We know we're going to get more Clea stuff because now she's like 100% on the lam on Coruscant, last place you want to be in this situation, because you're wanted on, like,
and she has no allies left on Coruscant.
Zilch. No base either. Like, the store is burned. She's got her little safe house, which is where she goes to, and she had stuff hidden there, which she had stuff hidden in like 2 places, which I loved. One in the safe house, and then one in the next place she goes, where she's cementing into the wall. Because that was all the safe house. Oh, I thought she left and went somewhere and then brought. Okay, that would make
she had stuff in the ceiling. She had stuff that was concreted in the wall.
She wasn't playing, but I like that because that's spy stuff, dude. That's what I'm talking about. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I would have cemented something in a wall because the first place I'd check in an inspection is the effing ceiling tile.
Yeah, and that's where you put something simple, something that you want people to find.
Yeah, or literally the quickest runaway throwaway thing, like the extra go bag with like some cash and like another set of glasses. That's it. Not your fake IDs, not a gun.
Yeah. Even though I'm mad at him because he's taken forever to write book 3, in his first book, he had a beautiful line with the person who's actually writing the story down, chronicler. He's getting robbed, and they take his purse, and he's like, "Can you leave me at least something so I can get some food in the next town?" He's like, for being like a gentleman, and he leaves him like a silver penny. And then he's there and he's talking. He's like, you got to leave enough in your purse so they don't search for more, or not too much to think that there's more where that came from and may take you a prisoner. Because he has like one hidden in like the bottom of his boot, another one hidden in his inkwell.
I think I've read far enough to actually read that part.
Yeah,
I know I'm behind on my King Killer Chronicle. Yeah, dude, I loved episode 10. Episode 10 ends with what's seen. It doesn't end on Luthen, does it? It did, because that's the monitor flashing out.
Yeah, it's fades to black when he dies, and that's the last scene of that.
Dude. But we forgot, we didn't even talk about it all, is that Dedra's got herself some hot ass water.
Oh yeah,
that's part of this episode.
At the hospital, they come up. Has an investigator and said, "Well, let's go get this sorted out." But
he rolls up in there and puts her under arrest for waiting for his day off to go in single-handedly to apprehend Rail. And we find out why it's such a big deal in episode 11, which I guess we just move right into. So
well, they also talked about there was the drop with the Lutus and Luthen conversation where he's like, I've had Dedra's credentials for a year now.
Yeah, no, right. That's what Lonnie gave Luthen the information about the Death Star, and that's what caused the whole accelerated time frame of the go. But we find out now, and see, if you miss that part, it throws why she's in trouble and how she ends up where she ends up in 12 completely out of context. You're like, wait a minute, how did we get from here to there?
Yeah,
it's that one singular line.
That one singular line that's set up in the beginning of episode 10 that puts her where she is in episode 12.
And I honestly thought she wasn't surviving episode 11 because episode 11's kind of focal point throughout this mix. It's got two big things. It's Andor and his team getting scrambled to go get Clea because and again, she puts together this 1960s retro radio pack because that's I think what was in the that's what was in the ceiling, right?
Yeah, that Bix was using.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was one of the old school things. And again, it ties back to that, but it also ties into Dedra again in 11. We'll get to that in a second. But she's basically calling for help, and it's like this old Morse code. She's like like sending signals, and it probably took it a year and a half to get across, subspace to get where it needed to go. But somehow it got there in like 30 minutes. I don't know. It's weird. But you don't ask Star Trek questions in Star Wars. That's the rule. You just don't. Shit just works and it looks
It just
cool.
works. It's PFM. You have a satellite here, you have a satellite here, and it's PFM in the middle.
That's all I needed to know. Right? So Clea's doing that, trying to call for the rescue. But the other big thing that happens in the episode, like the entire framework of the story, this is Dedra's episode. She's incarcerated still. Right?
Yep.
It's following right from episode 10, so it's not like she's been locked up like J6 style without a lawyer for like a year or anything. But she's in an interrogation room, and she's facing the screen, and somebody walks in behind her. And I love the framing of this, right? It's effing Krennic. You know it because you can see the what are the bars called on a military uniform? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. His something I forgot what we call it. Man, I've been out too long.
How do you forget what I was hoping you knew?
I mean, the real name is the Ribbons. We call it our ribbons and stack. But we also call it something salad, like something type of salad. I forgot what it was.
It's the insignia that you see on in a formal military uniform, and you know it's Krennic. They leave everything about his face from his nose up out of frame for like the first 5 minutes he's talking to her. So he's just a mouth, and it looks like he's gonna devour this chick whole. And the minute he speaks, what's left of her color
goes gone.
Absolutely ivory toilet seat white. Gone. Dude, I shriveled up into my throat when he started talking on her behalf.
Say it.
It was that intimidating. Dude, don't bury the loot. Let me get there. Because, again, for all of his occasional buffoonery as Krennic, he gets punked by Vader in Rogue One, but that makes sense because Vader's above him on the ladder. So he gets clowned on a little bit. And I thought some of the stuff at the gala in the last chapter was a little cartoony. The stuff when they were firing up the Gorman stuff in chapter 1 was a little but Krennic here, top shelf villain. Quiet, telling you why I'm here. Is my reputation slid so far that you think I'm here because your jerk off friend that's an ISB clerk got shot in a park? And then he says your line. It's like, why? What one singular thing would bring me to this godforsaken basement? Say it. He doesn't even yell that part. He still doesn't yell, dude.
Say it.
Right? Couldn't believe it. She says Death Star. We get all the key jangling and everybody's happy because it's cool just to hear it. But then he has a couple more lines. He accuses her of being a spy, and then it all leads into him going, well, what would have caused you to think that you should have gone after Luthen Rail alone? And then he just goes the last 3 words, and I'm like, that's a dad voice. That's what you do. Like, you start quiet to draw them in, and then you burn them with them last 3 words.
The other one, where it's like, if you're not a rebel spy, you missed your calling.
Dude, I'm like, dude, he's going to shoot this bitch in the face in this episode right here in the interrogation room, and no one's going to give a shit.
Yeah. It's like when you're joking on the other team, it's like, hey, the MVP of our team is your quarterback.
Right? Seriously. We appreciate those 6 pick sixes.
Yeah.
But dude, it was a great scene where, again, I love it because everybody in the scene is doing what they think is the right thing, and no one's technically wrong. Like, she's like, I never gave Young my code clearance. If he had it, he stole it. And then he's like, yeah, but the thing is we caught him logged into your account, stupid, for 3 hours. And what do you think he found? Right? And then he starts looking. You got it.
Then he was going in and he was like, "You're a scavenger." And she's like, yeah. It was like, because you were looking up the same stuff. So she was actually looking into Death Star and stuff like that. And like, why are you looking at this?
And then, but she has a great comeback for her character. She's like, I am, because all of this made me. Because if you idiots, and she didn't say idiots because Krennic just would have broke her neck. But like, if you morons had sent me pertinent stuff that I had clearance for, given my track record, I probably could have put all this shit together and had access a year ago. So she's dead ass not wrong again.
Yeah, one of the reports said that they saw a guy who had a ship full of antiques. I could have put this together a long time ago.
Exactly. But again, Krennic's not wrong. She took a TAC team with her. They were all there. She didn't have to apply pressure to the wound to stop Luthen from bleeding herself. Like, he cut himself. He hit the floor. She called the med team. Tactical came in and locked everything down. But she had to have her moment. She just had to go inside, have her little speech, which was great, and I appreciate that. This was the best epic scene of like the entire show. But like, Krennic's not wrong. She's like, if your stupid ass had just deferred to Hirt, like you supposed to, because this was his sector, his zone, his assignment.
Because she was put on Gorman, so she was taken off of access.
She was demoted, promoted according to what Partagas called it. You know, this is a gift, it's a reward. Come to the coast, have a couple of laughs. He went all die hard on her.
Yeah,
but she's boned and basically never leaves detention again from that point. Like, that's a wrap. Thank you, Dedra. And I love how they wrapped her up at the end of 12. But we'll get to that, because that was some cold-blooded shit.
This is what happens when you mishandle classified information.
Yeah. Well, it should. I mean, it doesn't in this country for the last like 5 years. That's neither here nor there.
Last 8 years.
8 years. However. So the best part of how she ends up in this scene, though, because I thought this was like the worst slap in the face, isn't when he grabbed her after she tried to like give more advice and be like, yeah, we need to lock down transit and do this, 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 and this. I'm like, well, any idiot knows you got to do that. He like grabs her by the neck again
and
like,
sits her
down. He's like, we'll try to carry on as best we can without you. The look on her face, terror.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I heard somebody else say, I don't remember who it was. It might have been Critical Drinker or one of the people on his panel. So he's like, did they lock Kathleen Kennedy in a basement for like a year when they made this? Because there's no shot she saw dailies of a man manhandling a woman in charge and let shit go to print. Like, there's no shot. They must have swapped something in or out, because that's twice this has happened to this power character in as many episodes, really.
Yeah.
You know, like Cyril almost hit her with the people's elbow and a choke slam, and now her boss is coming in.
Well, Cyril was two-hand choking her.
Right. Krennic working with the mankind, the mandible claw move, basically in her jaw, like sits her ass down, and then just leaves her there. But then the cold-blooded shit is he goes outside the room and is talking to other officers, and you can't hear what they're saying. Like, they're moving. You are now out.
Yeah.
You were John Wick. You were excommunicado. You're done. Like, you're out. And I'm like, oh, damn.
And that's just technical brilliance. Like, she can no longer hear what they're talking about, and they just showed it to you.
Mm-hmm. And it might have been one of those things, like, imagine if they closed the blinds on her, too. That might have been too much, because we still wanted to see the dudes talking. Mm-hmm. See them.
Yeah, because you wouldn't know what they're doing outside the door. You needed to see that they're talking, but you can't hear it because she's no longer in the crowd.
And they didn't even look back at her, dude, not once. I do, because I went back and checked. They were like, herp, derp, derp, talking to everybody else, and then gone. Next scene. And I'm like, in that moment, if you had any kind of thought you were ever going to see Dedra out of incarceration again, you were dead ass wrong.
Yep.
It was never happening. She was basically waiting for execution at that point. But dude, what a banger subsection there, because she gets one more scene. So they wanted you to think that she had a shot where Hirt actually comes in, and he's like, if we solve this shit quickly, you might get out. Maybe help me out a little bit.
Yeah, and then she's the one who comes up with the idea on how to find him.
Because once again, This chick is never wrong. Like, she's great at her job. She should have reported that she received shit she shouldn't have, though. And I'm glad that they addressed that, because it does put the onus on the consequence back on her where it belonged. It wasn't the patriarchy holding her down.
No, she violated imperial regulation.
Saying. But I did love that came back up, and she had to weigh that. They gave it just as much attention as I wanted. She's like sitting in the cell, and if you notice, she's got the collar loosened, the hair's starting to come out of the tight put away bun and everything. She tries to do it up when she hears footsteps, and she sees here, and she's like, she stops. She stops doing it. That was funny.
That was perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, he's like, a quick solve could save us. She's like, she's gonna have to bail. Where could she go? And she's like, yeah, she's not gonna go where you think she's gonna go. So
she's too smart for that.
Right, the APB you put out's not gonna find her. He's like, yeah, I know. So what should I do? And then Dedra's like, well, she's gonna call for help. And then he's like, oh yeah, we know that too. Like, duh.
We're scanning everything we can. Right,
which ties directly back to what you mentioned a little while ago, where you were like, when we were talking about Clea putting together the old school radio. Mm-hmm. It was Dedra's detail that found that one in the smokestack in the garage on Ferrex. So she's familiar with how this cell operates.
Yeah, because she's like, we found one on Ferrex. I think there was one on I forgot his name. The one that they kind of just sold out and let him die so they wouldn't catch on to.
The pilot?
No, they had. Remember, he was trying in season 1. He was trying to get Forrest Whitaker's character to go join him.
Saw Gerrera, yeah.
Yeah, Saw Gerrera to go join that other guy, Krennic. Not Krennic.
No, Krennic's the. I know who you're talking. It's not Krennic's the Imperial guy. That's
but like,
I know who you're talking about. I can't. Oh no, they said his name. Antigua, something like that.
Yeah, and he was trying to get with him. Kreeder, that was it. Kreeder. See, it's kind of close to. So it was Kreeder, and like we found it on Kreeder's men as well. The same type of shortwave.
The guy that the ISP did capture. That's right.
Yeah.
Good call. So that's it. So again, that's Dedra putting pieces to. She's doing the meme. She's doing the Sunny in Philadelphia thing.
Yeah.
Like connecting all the wires and shit, but nobody listens to her. Ever. It's infuriating.
But one of my friends who was watching it, he's like, this is the most accurate military intelligence type thing from episode 1, where they're like, we believe all this is tying together for rebel activity. And they're like, no, I don't think it's that important. That you're looking too hard. Maybe you need to look at this.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
There was
Pearl Harbor. Anybody? Pearl Harbor.
Anybody? No, so they're just tourists. They're just tourists in planes, bro. Just go back to sightseeing. You're cool. Never mind the calls that are coming in from the ground that are like, I don't know, I see bombs on those fucking planes. Mm-hmm. That's near the end of there. They also have red dots painted on the side. You know, a lot of American private planes have the rising sun logo. Yeah. So Partagaz gets some airtime in this episode. Good scene with Krennic.
Yeah.
I got the impression there that them two are sort of friendly-ish.
Friendly,
Krennic uses his first name.
Yeah, because Krennic is the overall commander of the ISB. So this is like one of his colonels. He would dress. I'm messing up names here now. Partagaz. He would address him by his first name, but he would always call him Krennic or Colonel Krennic director. That's kind of like how it goes in the military. Like the battalion commander's walking around and he's calling all the company commanders by their first names.
Right. Which again, I think
you never do it up.
Probably respect. You never do it up, but if you actually get the first name on the way down, it probably is a bit of a respect move, just being like just an uneven two-way street. But if they ever called you, Colonel so-and-so, it's like when your mama uses your first and your middle name.
Yeah.
It's because you done screwed something up.
Why are you using my first name?
Mm-hmm. If they break out the confirmation name, then that means that ass. Like, forget it. My house, if you got all 3 names, you were done. So when he used his first name, I'm like, oh, I know how this is going to end for him. Like,
I cannot protect you.
He's Leo. I can't protect you on this. But to his credit, Partagaz grows a set, and he's like, "You were supposed to be fucking done.
Yeah.
Like, we've kept this whole thing quiet for years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, he really did. Because in that closeout scene in episode 12, we get shades of it in Rogue One too, where it's the Death Star almost done, and in Rogue One they're lowering the. Wait, is it in this show that they were lowering the deflector dish, or is it just
It was the after credit scene of season 1 of the final episode of season 1.
Okay, all right. So it wasn't Rogue. It wasn't on Rogue One yet. That's right. We get that scene, and I'm just looking at him like, dude, it's not a moon, it's a space station, right? And then I'm looking at like the 5 Star Destroyers around it, and now I'm considering how many people physically laid hands on this thing to build it, right? And now I'm thinking all like Clerks, you know? So the rebels showed up and destroyed this thing and killed like 1 million independent contractors and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, okay. So like, let's say that like 5 million people worked on this thing. They kept that all quiet for as long as they did. That's the singular most unbelievable thing about the show. And I hate that I thought of that.
Well, really I think that, and if you go back to Rogue One, they were all sequestered. Like they could never leave. There was no communication in or out.
That's true. And we know that there's some gangster shit going on with the Imperials, like on Narkina, the prison planet and shit. How they, oh, dude, you did your 5 years. Good job, King Z. All right, put them up on the 3rd floor.
Yeah,
recycled. Surprise.
And then also, if you go through Star Wars lore, it was a lot of Wookiees that were actually working on the physical Death Star.
That's true. I remember you told me that before. That's right. So yeah, I can file that under suspension of disbelief, but I was like, yeah, that is impressive that they kept it quiet for 5 years, because it kind of sort of is. These idiots can't make a Marvel movie without the plot, the villain, the cast, a couple of the major plot beats, and a death coming out, 4 months ahead of time. They kept the Death Star quiet for 4 years. I think Partagas should have gotten a free pass on that one. Should have retired his ass to the tropical planet that Andor got arrested on.
Yeah,
I think maybe he earned it. But does Partagas do his exit here? Or is that
no? That's episode 12.
All right. What else? Do we miss anything else that was absolutely banging on 11? Andor shows up, but the shootout doesn't happen until 12 also.
But you do get... So one of the cool things you get is Kay.
Yeah, for sure.
Kay has his whole personality back from when you saw him in Road One. And the best part is when he finds out like everything's jammed and he goes to help. And like he's walking down the bridge like, they see him. They see one of their KB droids, and they're like, "Are you with us?" And he's like, "No," and then straight yeets that guy off the bridge.
Okay. What killed the guy was slamming into the concrete bridge barrier and then drowning, right?
Yeah,
because he got folded in half as he went over. That shit was hilarious. I love these. Are they KBs or KXs or whatever they are?
It's a KB droid.
Is KB?
Yeah.
I love them. I think they're all badass. They are terrifying. We've seen them be like blaster resistant in like a bunch of different places now, but it makes me wonder how K2SO dies in Rogue One then.
It was to the head. It was to the back of the head.
But he's taking shots to the body too when he's holding down the...
And he's still doing it. It was till where they got up on him because he couldn't defend himself anymore. Because eventually you only have so many hit points. I'm sorry.
And then maybe there's that, it's got the hot spot on the back of the neck where like if you click the right stick, it puts you in a holograph view and it lights up red, so that's where you got to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
We've all played that game. But yeah, I love that he goes on. He's heading out on his assault, and the slickest thing he does, and we get to watch Partagas like respond to it too, is he gets to the Imperials have jammed their comms. Yeah, he goes to the shuttle, kills everybody, and jams their comms back. Yeah, and you watch the shuttle go offline on Partagas's terminal in the ISB listening room, and I'm like, that's pretty badass. I like that. It's a good droid.
Nothing good happens in that listening room. That's where the Senate speech happened, and the guy who wasn't supposed to be there that day is trying to coordinate all of that and let Mon Mothma escape.
Dude, is that guy probably... Is he my most pitied character on this show? Is he the realest character Star Wars has ever written? That lower middle management guy probably just did the overnight. You know what I mean? Oh, fuck, this dude's not here.
And he had 2 more major scenes. He had one in this one.
I know.
Where, what did he say in this one? Oh, he was the one who was telling... No, it was the last episode where he tells him, like, what do you mean he caught it? It was like, he's like, yeah, we found out that Lonnie was just killed. And he was like, no, Dedra just moved on what she believes is Axis. And then, of course, the scene in episode 12.
Which we will definitely get to, because, again, that's a kind of scene that has precious few little words and hits harder than 15 minutes and 15,000 words of shit from an inferior show.
Yep.
And that's to do it again. I didn't know his name's Legret. I had no idea who that guy was 2 months ago. He's one of my favorite characters in the show now. Just because we all had that job. We've all been stuck late because the other guy didn't come in.
And he has some regret now.
He does have some Legarrette. Mm-hmm. You got big Legarrette. No Legarts. He's gonna get it tattooed. He's gonna get no Legarts tattooed on the inside of his forearm. So the end of the episode's pretty good. We know K2SO is on the way to help them, but it looks like Andor, Melshi, or I always want to call Welshi, like on Futurama, when Frag gets stuck on the planet, the original Star Trek actors. Welshi! And then the thing zaps him. I love that shit. They go to get Clea, and she doesn't want to leave. She's like, I'm not welcome on Yavin 4. Like, those people all think Luthen's a dick. I don't know so much that that's going to be my sanctuary.
Yeah.
But it's too late because, again, Hirt and his TAC team have some cool retro the PKE meter from Ghostbusters. He's just holding it up.
It's an RF scanner.
I'm calling it a PKE meter because it did.
It did look like the yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
10.0 on the PK. Buried the needle.
It's just going out of control. Right. So he's got two teams. Dude, here's another character that I like. He reminded me of the guy, like the commanding sergeant from the Gorman Massacre, the one that had to take the patrol out. We get this giant dude with the bushy mustache. He's straight out of a 70s, 80s sci-fi show.
That's exactly what I said I was watching. I'm like, this is just a better version of what happened to Cyril in episode, was it 2 or 3? 3, in episode 3.
Stay down, Commander, or I'll take it from here. Yeah, it was that guy.
Because he comes up, he's like, put your armor on, sir.
Right into his chest.
Yeah.
Right? But I never got the impression that this dude was incompetent. Ever.
No, ever.
Dude, this is a guy that served like high-risk warrants, had his team. He goes, I'm taking the points. Such and such sergeant's leading team 2. They're going to secure the pad. Da-da-da-da-da. He brings his guys in. He orders formations. He orders weapons options on the fly. Like, they all die because K2SO is a pimp. But what are you going to do? That's next episode.
The funny part was when they're checking the building and they go to the apartment right below them. And you have the old couple there like... and then they broke out the PKs like, they're right above us.
Let's see. But let's do a sidebar here for a minute, because this is important. If this was an MCU show, that whole thing has 5 extra lines of dialogue where none of it's really funny. It undermines the tension of them.
They would have dropped something.
Right. They would have dropped a plate and it would have broken. And then, or the drill sergeant with the cool stash, he would have walked out and like grabbed a handful of food out of the pot and like ate a mouthful. But instead, no, he gets the weapon ready. He follows his commander out the door. And they're moving, like they're going. He's like, get the fucking comms back on. I'm like, well, yeah, I know. The robot smashed your guy's face into the transmitter. There's no comms.
No.
Like his blood's literally in the spider web glass. He's toast. But what are you gonna do? But again, no, there's no clowns on this show.
No.
Even when we go back to like season 1 and we get in the prison, and we know Andy Serkis just held court for like those 4 episodes or 3 episodes, whatever that was. Even some of the I call these guys like the douchier side characters. Like, you know what? There's not the early rebels that I didn't like at the plane crash episode.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, dude.
The TIE Fighter recovery episode.
TIE Fighter the stolen TIE. On Captain Stash's like tactical team, there's no tards. Like, they're all there. They're all professionals.
Yeah.
Again, they all die because they were hopelessly outmatched. But like any rabble that rolled up against them were gonna get fried.
Yeah,
they had Andor's team dead to rights.
Yeah, any rabble or any squad on squad, even if they were outnumbered, they would probably have the advantage.
And I love too that they had. You could tell they were like, I don't know. They probably have a name in lore. Forgive me, I don't know what it is. But like they had the white and black armor, but it wasn't stormtrooper armor. Like it looked different. It was like ISB Spec Ops armor or something.
I think they're just called tactical. They were ISB tactical team.
Just to say, it wasn't just 5 run-of-the-mill stormtroopers with the same helmet that we've seen.
Yeah.
Like, no, these are the guys. Like, these guys are going to mess you up, you know? And they're all, like, you got one guy who's like, the civilians are starting to mill around downstairs, and he's like, nothing to see here. You'll be safe. I go back inside, standard security warrant or something. Like, they're not roughing people up. They're not doing anything dumb. You know, there's nothing comical. And I'm like, dude, it's such a more pleasant viewing experience when there's like restraint. It really is. People act normal. Dying here today. There were a couple of good shots, and I you're a behind the camera guy as well. I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of these shots. when the Spec Ops team are landing, we see different shots on different angles of the troops in the in the Imperial shuttle. We get toes tapping. We get fingers fidgeting on the barrels of guns, like they're kind of locking in. We get a couple of great shots of like their harnesses. They're restrained into their seats, and they're all scuffed up, like they're well worn. Like this, I get the impression that these guys might have done this a couple of times, and I really appreciated that. Yep. Nothing's chromy or shiny. It's not all highly gleamed, polished white. Like, no, these guys are working. I like that.
Yeah. This is a perfect example of a tactical insertion, too, for a type of urban type mission. It comes in low, it touches down, ramp drops, and then they have security automatic. If someone's there shooting, they have someone to shoot back. Then they come out, they set up the perimeter, and then they devise up their team. Then the lieutenant comes out. Well, he's an ISB agent, but I'm calling him a lieutenant. And then he's the one who's doing they has his person on standby to start tapping along on the radio, because they're trying to find out where they are. And she's like, go back to the radio, and he's there with their Luthen's half melted radio. And she's like, I could take it back and maybe find something. He goes, I can't find a connection unless it's connected to something. And then it just starts going off. Right. And that's when Andor was getting in orbit to let her know that he was getting there. One of the other good scenes about the radio was when they were getting the message back on Yavin, and they're in their little card game, Baccarat game that they had going on. Okay. And Kay's like, that's a something cipher, something like this. Nothing known. It's probably something you guys memorized. Because they all had they're just listening to it, because you don't know, it's not Morse code, but it's probably something else, a different type of cipher that you would know, or like how we used during the Cold War, the most secure form of encryption is a one-time pad, where they do the encryption based on the one time. You have a pad, I have a pad, and it has a sequence number at the bottom. They match. So I do it, I decode it, we crumple that up and throw it away. We never use it again.
I like that. That was a good scene. It was good for the personality build, but it tied right back into the spycraft part of the show.
No, his good. Best part for his personality is like, do you know how many orders you've disobeyed? 17. And then
shut off the mic, K.
Yeah, and then like something else comes. He goes, K, 18.
Shut off the power. That was some good shit. You know, I just thought of another one that we missed. Because this is a setup and a payoff to 12 and Partagast. There's that three-way scene with Partagast, Krennic, and Hirt, where Krennic basically reads him the riot act. And he's like, so we're going to need you to put out the APB on this chick. And the guy's like, well, how far is my scope? And what should I do? And what are the charges? And
he's like, what charges? Murder, subterfuge? And then Pendergast is like, she had staked the hospital with a disease. She could kill thousands of people unless she's found again. And then like Krennic's like, that's brilliant. He's like, you heard it. Why are you still here?
Now, the threat he leveled on him ahead of that was even better, where he was like, you're not going to rest until you find a pick, or you can find your place at the end of the ever-growing ISB death march. And I'm like, oh, snap. Didn't know you had one, but okay, that's pretty intimidating. But I did like the whole, that's perfect. Why are you still, it wasn't even a breath. Yeah. That's perfect. Why are you still here?
Yeah.
But it wasn't perfect, because this swings right into episode 12. So let's just jump right into 12, right? Partagast's plan all along, basically, or his outlook, has been to look at the rebellion as kind of like a cancer or a virus. It's just something that spreads, but it can be contained. And the way to contain it is basically to firewall as broadly as you can and suffocate, right? Except this time, by giving this dude the great idea to do it as find the escaped hospital patient, he spreads all the ISB resources too thin. So when K2SO shows up to bail out Andor's piddly ass from the safe house, there's no tactical team to respond. And it made me think of something you just said about military intelligence and not looking at things. The bureaucracy that happens in that 10-second radio transmission from like a senior level guy in Partagast trying to reroute an asset for backup was hilarious. And I'm like, yep, that's what happened. That's absolutely what happened. Oh, it's in the queue. It's processing. I'm like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? It's processing. Get the fucking send unit 5 now. You know? And of course, that's his undoing. That's his
because
undoing.
That whole part where they send him out to because they got her face from the security cameras,
Yeah.
and they're like, because they said that they believe it's a team of 3, and then it's like it's not a team of 3, it's one person.
And Dedra told him that.
And then that's when he goes down to Dedra and gets the advice. It's like they're sending this all out. We know that's not going to work. It was like, how can we get this done? And that's when they start coming up with the radio idea and everything like that. That led to them finding him in that apartment.
Right.
And then they come out and they're like, put your hands up. And they all just dive back into the apartment. And then they get hit. Like, they didn't even get a shot off before they were hit with a stun grenade.
And who called for the stunner?
It was the front sergeant major.
Captain Stash. Sergeant Stash sounds better, I guess. We'll go with
But before they wrapped up the last episode, you saw KB starting to clear his way through the building. And then all of a sudden you hear, and then you see people just throwing it at the wall, and they're like, what's going on?
I've cleared a path.
Yep.
Now, my favorite part of that is K2 gets to hear it first and just fucking breaks his neck.
Yeah.
And then carries him like a human shield in front of him. And Captain Stash is like, all right. So anyways, I started blasting, and he shoots through him, and you can literally see him taking like 6-7 hits, and I'm like, that's funny. But it's not going to help you.
Not going to help you.
Because he got yeeted face first into the concrete wall and killed.
Yeah, he did.
And then they bail, which I thought was pretty funny. But again, that's the kind of funny you can get away with when you're serious 95% of the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's like the comic tension break.
Right. So I want to reset the table for the last episode here, episode 12. Because where I love this whole chapter, I think 12 is the weakest episode for me. I feel like it didn't have enough interesting stuff to do to wrap it up, and I wonder if there were ways to trim out a bunch of the Clea on Yavin stuff and just have combined 11 and 12. So it was just all character wrap-ups and getting Andor on his way, because there did come a point in this episode where I was bored flashing back to her in the infirmary a couple of times, and then her with Vel. I'm like, okay, I don't like you're either going to make your peace with being on Yavin or you're not. I don't need to see you wandering in the rain.
So her whole thing was she was the eyewitness that they needed to prove Andor's story when he rushed to the council to tell them about the story. And that's when Mon Mothma comes and is like, make me believe. Have her make me believe. And that's where the whole Vel thing came in. And then she's like, she doesn't want to be in the room anymore. She feels entrapped. She lost her father figure. And and then having Vel bring her in is kind of like that new beginning moment, like letting that part end. I think it needed to be done because she's such an important character. They wrapped up almost all the important characters that you need. They all had their time.
Right down the list. Yeah, go ahead. Go right. Start us off down the list. Start with the big one if you want.
First I want to say is Mon Mothma looked like Mon Mothma.
Oh, yes. Bonus points.
Yes. The haircut, everything.
Andor, too. And I meant to ask you this. Do you think they switched on the de-aging thing a little bit on Diego Luna to smooth out the face and cut the hair short again? Because he's in his gear at the end of this show. He's in the Rogue One ensemble going to Kafrene.
Yeah,
same haircut, same red jacket.
Where Rogue One begins at. When they introduce Cassian, that's where he's at.
Right. So no, they definitely nailed the look, and I appreciated the hell out of that. I really did, because it really sells the 1 year time jump from the last chapter to now, which is ostensibly 24 hours ahead of Rogue One or whatever it is. It's like it's the day of, morning of, just about.
Yeah, because I mean, they even had their argument with Saw Gerrera. When he's on Jeddah, the home of the Jedi. If you don't know where Jeddah is, that is the home of these Jedi and a very big mine of tiger crystals that which makes lightsabers. But it also made the giant laser on the Death Star.
The Alan Parsons project.
Yeah. And we'll call it Death Star.
I love that movie. So let's talk character endings, because the whole episode is really dedicated just to closing off character loops. So that's Clea. We get that last scene of her. She's cracking a very faint smile as the rebellion base is kind of doing their thing on Yavin. Troops are training people and moving in different places. Andor's going to do her thing. The music and the score in this episode is perfect, by the way. It's a hopeful swelling the entire time, even as people are getting
because rebellions are built on hope.
You know what I mean? Because rebellions are built on hope. And I've said this before, and I'm going to glaze the Yavin base again. I love seeing it, dude. I love seeing people work on X-Wings. They got the torches going, shit's sparking. You know, I love seeing droids that look like I built them in like the 8th grade with like erector sets just wheeling by in the background. They don't look like chrome covered Cylons. You know, they're not CGI. Like, it's just the costume. They all look dirty. Like, again, didn't we just say this like a week ago on Last of Us, right? We're like, it's post-apocalyptic, but everybody's got like hair and makeup and nice clothes and the jackets are all clean and shit. I'm like, you look at these rebel uniforms up close, I can taste how bad they smell. You know what I mean? Like, that's a fact. This looks like a rebel base, and I love it. The only person who looks like they've had a bath in the last 3 days is Bail Organa. That's it. He's the only one.
But he's also a senator and the king of his planet or prince of his planet.
He probably can't go back, though. Probably can't go back.
Well, he dies on it, so I mean, there's that.
He snuck his way. Maybe he snuck back to the castle, hit up a shower, maybe.
Yeah.
But we could bang off a couple of outros real quick and wrap ups. I want to give you a couple because they're on the same planet. We got to see BEMO Red Droid, and he had a friend.
Yes,
how cool was that?
Had a friend living with the one lady, so he's happy. He has a family. He doesn't have abandonment issues. But the most important part is who's also there with him, so he has that still taste of home. And we have to jump back to, was it episode 9 when she left? And Bix tells Andor that she has to leave, and now we know why. The last shot is of her with baby Andor on the arm, so they can write that into something in the future.
Maybe it's baby Andor. You don't know.
It's baby Andor.
It probably is.
Is he special like me? No, he's good. He's good for us.
Yeah, I thought that was nice. She's beautiful. I could watch her holding a baby all day long. Honestly, she's very pretty. I don't know how I feel about that being literally the last image of the show, though. I feel like it might have been a better image. Like, you have that second to last, and then the typical last image of a Star Wars thing is, Andor looks over at K2, and K2 hits something up here, and then Andor pulls the hyperdrive, and then Star Streaks. Like, that's how you end a Star Wars show to me. I just thought it was they were going for the hopeful thing. The music's swelling. They're on a very beautiful Rebel Moon planet. I still think that's probably the best looking Star Wars planet we've had from this show. Just there's something about it. I like it. It's quiet. Peaceful.
I liked where they did the wedding at. That was my.
Andor was dope.
Yeah, that was a very aesthetically pleasing planet.
Yeah, they had a lot too, though. I mean, the episode where Luthen and what's her face Claire in the flashback, where they're walking away and it looks like they're on like the Great Wall of China.
Yeah,
like, there was some solid visuals here, like, especially the outdoor stuff. I did like some of that stuff. So that's BEMO and Bix. Brasso's still dead.
Brasso's still dead, buried on that planet.
Maybe. We don't know what they do there.
Or he became part of the land to help feed the next generation and making way.
Yeah, they never found him. It's a big ass cornfield out there.
Oh, they always find the cornfield.
Find the cornfield. They're just threshing and all of a sudden shit squirts. That's disgusting, dude. I didn't need that visual in my Star Wars show, but anyway.
It happens.
It does. So, I guess the two big ones, the two big endings on the show are Partagaz and Dedra. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, Partagaz was rough because he was my favorite bad guy in this movie. Just this episode, like the way he just was with his people and the way he actually thought moves ahead, but he was still blinded by being a true believer and thinking, or he had his ideas of like containment instead of destruction. Like if they would have acted earlier on a lot of the intel they were getting, there would be no rebellion. Luthen Rail would have been captured after like his third little incident that he was doing. So, and it goes back to the whole line that Leia had with Vader: the tighter you have your grip, the more systems are going to slip through your fingers.
Yeah, not wrong. And that ties in perfectly to how we meet up with him in this episode. He's listening to Nemec's speech from the night before the Aldhani heist, and the nature of tyranny and control and authoritarianism being brittle, because it's not the natural order of things, and that it requires a constant effort, and that the Empire doesn't know and the Rebellion doesn't know that like there are whole legions of rebels out there. They just don't know they're rebels yet.
Yeah.
I remember that line. I was like, that was the best line of that speech. Is that there's millions of people just waiting, for their call.
They're waiting for that powder keg moment.
Right. Yep. They're waiting for their ferrex, which sucks, but like that's what happens, And I like that he's listening to it and he shuts it off as Legert walks in. I'm just gonna call him Legert now because that's funny.
And he's like blurred, like it didn't reveal who he was until later. I like that where they did the perspective change.
Yep. They
Or
did the shift.
rat focus.
Nice.
Is what we call it.
Technical term there. Why we pay you the big money. But I did like that, and I like that he's basically come in by himself. He's like, I told him I'd bring you down. He's not talking about going to get lunch. Like, no, this is where you're heading to interrogation. Like, your time is up.
Yep.
Right.
This is where they meant by I cannot protect you on this.
Right. And he has this little moment where he's like, what do you think it means? He's talking. You've heard this before. What do you think it means? And he's asking him how it spread quick, didn't it? He still doesn't like they're all, hey, Pape's here. What's up, buddy?
Hey, thanks for joining us, Pape.
Dude, make sure you catch that. We know we went live unexpectedly. We did not schedule this, but we've done I think a fairly solid breakdown of 10, 11, 12. I know you enjoyed our 7, 8, and 9 in particular with the massacre. I think we really covered 10. So if you haven't watched it yet, the episode that is, go. There's spoilers throughout all the episodes as things wrap up, of course. So we don't want you to be spoiled by here. So if you dip out now, we won't hold it against you because we do have more spoilers coming. So yeah, Partagas has that moment where he's like, the rebellion spread, and God dang, it went a whole lot quicker than I thought it was gonna. And Legert's like, I guess that sucks. It really did get out of hand, didn't it? Anyway, we gotta go.
He's like, they're waiting for you, and he's like, give me a second to collect my thoughts. And he knew exactly what he meant.
Okay, he knew. At what moment did you know? Was it at that exact moment thing. Also? Okay.
Same thing. Yep.
Just making sure, because they do a very solemn. Like he kind of walks over to his spot at the head of the table and he sits down. And the minute they gave us that shot of him from behind the back of his head, I'm like, yep. Oh, dude, really?
Wow.
Damn.
It is that good. Hats off to you, bro. You're
watching
watching a masterpiece done.
Yeah. I did have to rip through the I ripped through 10, 11, and 12 again today just to make sure. But yeah, we get that shot of Partagas at the back of his head. And then the drawer opens. You don't see, and then of course he does the typical, the 40-pound pistol on the desk, and I'm like, nice.
And then I love when he comes out. Legret there, he comes out and he just puts his head down, let the door close behind him, and then you just wait for a beat, and then you hear, and then you see the stormtrooper move, and he's like,
I know, dude. He just BTFOs them with like a half raised hand.
Yeah,
and like. Is this guy a Jedi? Because that's pretty badass. He's like, nah, dude, just slow your roll. Just leave the man alone. So he gets it good. I'm not sure what the sequence is of wrap-ups, because again, it's that same like 10-minute piece of the score. I feel like it did look a little bit like Han Solo's blaster. I think it was probably built off that same old. In real life, it was a World War II. It was a German Mauser.
No, Luger.
Was it a Luger?
It was a Luger, German Luger looking. And I believe that because Han Solo's blaster is from when he was in the Imperial Officer Academy.
Sure,
so it might be an officer piece.
Yeah. True. Yeah, in world I think Hans is called like the DL-44 Luger. All right, the Pape said Luger. There we go. I love that. Love it. And that's a great ending for him. I was saying the score, it's that same hopeful tone, like it doesn't shift in between.
It drops a key a little bit during that, and then it comes back to it normal. Yeah, it did.
Then it must have done to what I was going to say next is I think it probably drops down again when we get Dedra. And I didn't need more than the 5 seconds I got on that because, dude, it was great.
As soon as you saw the red stripes.
Dude, it's in the thummy. It's in the thumb.
But my thought was at the end when the lights went out and the floor went hot. I thought she was going to stand up and step on the floor.
Nah, she's just going to cry. She's a coward. She's not going to kill herself.
Yes.
Yes, and I have a thing on the music too. Stay tuned on that because I heard it somewhere and I went to investigate because it's the kind of thing I love, and I'll tie this into here. We've talked for an hour and 15 minutes about this show, and have
About
had
3 episodes.
about 3 episodes, right? And have not had a single mainline complaint at all.
No.
Not hardly even any nits to pick. Like the thing I was talking about earlier about keeping the Death Star quiet, that was all in jest. Like I was like, seriously, that's not a gripe, right? I thought it was weird. We're gonna go back to Yavin for a few minutes here, right? I call them the Council of Douchebags now, and I'm glad that both Willman and Andor basically told them to know their roles, shut their mouths, and stay in their lanes when it comes to who put this all together.
Yeah.
Because the disrespect in that room was palpable, dude.
Yeah. And then watching Andor just lay down the smack. Like, none of you would be here if it wasn't for Luthen.
And dude, and Willman told Draven the same thing out on the flight deck when he was like, we know Andor went. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? And Willman's like, none of you would be here without Luthen. This was all him.
Yeah, right? He said, Luthen whistles and y'all jump.
Right. He's like, it's a final call. You get that, right? Like it means it's all coming down. So yeah, we're gonna go. But Andor is called in to address the Council of D-bags with the information that he brought back from Clea about the energy program being a lie. And Bale's like, oh, no, we know it's a lie. We've been funding it. And then Mon's like, without oversight, without any guidance, without any transparency. Yeah. And they're like, okay, so Bale's kind of a scumbag. Maybe he owns their version of Boeing or one of the Lockheed Martin or something. Maybe. Yeah. Just saying, maybe money in Rebel defense technology. But Senator Eyeroll and Senator Black Lady, because I don't know their name, I'm like, they wrote you two dickheads into this show just to crap on a character I like, and I don't like you. So
and I think that they wrote them perfect to be that person.
They did. Because then when Andor punched up, I'm like, good. Because they all couldn't sit there and polish the knob. I get that. This isn't that show.
And it also wouldn't make sense. You're always going to have that person who's that, I want to slow roll this. I want to take our time and just hit and run at things.
Right. But Senator Eyeroll in particular, I'm like, if I was Andor, I'd have shot that guy. I'd have taken the court martial and just fucking blown him away. Like, we're already boned here. That guy got right under my skin. But I like, they were talking about having the quorum, but we're not taking a vote. We just need this info. But what I wanted to ask you, right? And I think this is one of the places where the time jump didn't help the show. We know Luthen is increasingly estranged from this organization. He's still running his own independent operation at this point. I think what I might have needed here was an episode, whether they did it via flashback or in a current day mission gone wrong that had to reference things that happened without the flashback. I wanted to see what drove the wedge between them specifically. I think I really wanted to see that.
I think for Mon Mothma, what drove the wedge was them killing her childhood friend. Bale was never really in the Luthen corner. He was with Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma turned him. So that was her type of guy. The other ones, I think they just ran off of the stories and the legends of Luthen Rail.
I mean, my guess is you're right, and I'm wondering if before this show got its series order cut down into these 2 seasons, because you remember this show was originally scheduled for like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder if that was a whole B plot that was going to take place. There was going to be follow up with that, as maybe that story got out there.
And it might not have been important enough to put into these 24 episodes.
And it was just enough to make it work, like you said. And actually, Pape's comment, if you want to bring his most recent one back up about Rogue One, Rouge One. I love that typo. Did the same 2 senators try to hit the pause button in Rogue One as well? I thought that, and I haven't gone back to watch Rogue One.
It is, because it's in the trailer as well.
Okay, cool. So I had a feeling, because I'm like, it seems too, even if it's a year later, it would be too abrupt to drop brand new people in. And the Mon Calamari officer they use, Radis, that's the guy that shows up with the Rebel fleet at the end of Rogue One.
Yep.
But he's the commander of that fleet that shows up on Scarif. So it would make sense that good eye to you, Pape. We thought the same thing.
Yeah. On Road One, I did like that. They're like, the road fleet showed up. Well, which one? All of them.
All of them. Dude, Rogue One gets dumped on. I've only seen it twice, and I think I saw it twice in theater. I caught it on launch, and then I think I went to the second run theater, like a month later for a couple bucks. So I don't remember it front to back, dude. And that's what I'm going to say. I remember thinking it was kind of dull, in sections, but small sections. But the ending slapped.
Yeah,
It was
the whole movie.
Empire 2.0.
And now that we have Andor to build it up, like watch all of Andor, then go right into Rogue One.
Okay, now see, here's the consensus point. Then this is the controversial consensus point. Does Andor retroactively make Rogue One better?
No.
Or does it retroactively make Rogue One worse because Andor is so good?
Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie made after 1997.
Okay, it's the best movie made.
Yep.
But does Andor make it better, or does Andor expose flaws?
No, it definitely makes it better.
Okay.
Definitely makes it better.
On it. Dude, I think maybe the next thing we should do is a rewatch of Rogue One and do like a review on that, like a looking back thing and connecting it to Andor, because I think I need the benefit of what I need. Wait a minute. Wait. Blasphemy here. It's your favorite Star Wars film. It in no way, shape, or form is better than Empire Strikes Back. Not even close. I don't care how boomer of a take that is. I don't care if that somehow gets our channel struck. I don't care if it somehow precludes me from getting Lucasfilm memorabilia sent to me. There's no shot Rogue One is better than Empire Strikes Back. No shot. You can't have a clutch Star Wars movie with no Jedi. Even ones that don't realize that they're Jedi. Fact. You can have a show.
Hey,
this show proves it.
They had a Force sensitive, for I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
Dude, that was a great show. That was a great scene. Banger scene. The ending was great. Does Krennic die in Rogue One?
Yeah. He's on planet.
Is he on Scarif, really?
He's on Scarif that takes the blast. Because it was Tarkin who killed him.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And Tarkin never light.
He's like limited spread. That's right. Targeted blast. That was Tarkin. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a whole joke about Tarkin face because they did the CGI recreation of his face.
See, that'd be another fun thing to do too. Like when we do a rewatch, is to see how far along that technology has come, because it definitely has. There's no way that we would think that it's any good. Dude, Obi-Wan was in the first movie. Vader was in the first movie. Leia was in the first movie, not a Jedi. And yes, Krennic dies. Thank you. He was fighting on Gemini. Oh, that's right. He was. Yeah. No, that's right. And I remember thinking, I do remember distinctly that thought, that it's kind of stupid that this old like imperial administrative type is trying to throw hands with like a rebel. But but the ship, like King was talking about, like when the Rogue Fleet shows up, it's pretty badass. They cue the music and they go right into Zippy Doo X-wing swerving through the fleet formation with ties. I'm a sucker for that, man. You give me X-wings and ties, I'm a happy guy.
And then it also showed the value of a Hammerhead Corvette as well.
Yes, dude, that's because he pushed it out of the way, right? Was that one?
He pushed it into the shield that wouldn't let transmissions come out.
That was pretty badass. See, Star Wars is a lot cooler than Ahsoka or Kenobi
or whatever the show they try to cram down our throat and tell us that we need to like it.
Dude, I gotta ask Pape a question while he's here. Pape, have you watched that Tales from the Underworld thing? It was like a mini anthology. It was like 6 episodes or 4 episodes, 2 stories. It was Cad Bane and Asajj. You're still around. You saw that. Let me know. End user. Yes, they did use original because they used like Gold Leader and Red Leader and all that stuff spliced in when they arrived, didn't they? And I remember saying, "That's the Gold Leader guy." Yeah. A guy missed a shot, but he kamikaze the fuck out of that trench, though.
The way Rogue One ended is exactly how Season 2 ended. It was right before, because Leia got the plans and then she took off from there. And then later you have the Death Star. So you have Andor taking off to where Rogue One started. So it was pretty good.
It did dovetail pretty evenly, like you had called for, which was good. Oh, you just finished watching them. Quick thoughts on Tales from the Underworld, because I don't think King Z watched. You're not usually into the animated stuff. They're short though. If I didn't tell you that the other day, like I literally banged them all out on like a lunch break and a half, doing the work from home. And one of them was Cad Bane, who you bumped into in The Mandalorian, the Western gunslinger, anti-Mandalorian guy, and then Asajj Ventress, who I'm not a big Clone Wars guy, but I guess that's a fairly important Sith character from the Clone Wars. She's a badass. And again, like another better written female character than anything modern. The last run Tales of the there's been more than one. And yes, I agree there. I see that there. The Cad Bane one was a standout. It's a better cycle of violence story than I'm getting from my 5th reference of Last of Us Season 2 on this show. It definitely is. It's very cycle of violence. But back to Andor. Partagast dead. Dater's dead.
Oh, she's in prison.
dead in prison. You thought she was going to step on the electric floor. I knew.
I really did. I thought I was like, I think it would have been more of that. Like it finally everything just cracked her. She was on the verge of everything, and then all taken from her.
So the rebel base is established. Willman's alive. Saw's arrived. He's on Jeddah. He won't be alive much longer because he's crazy, man. Like this, he's reached like peak Saw Gerrera craziness.
Yeah, and like the rebels didn't. That's where he did the whole thing. With the rebels didn't even want to work with this rebel.
Right. Dude, I mean, like I'm trying to think because it's really there's a good portion of this episode dedicated, like I was saying, to bringing Clea back into the fold. She has a couple of scenes where she toasts. She's drinking with Bell at one point. Andor drinks with Bell at one point before he takes off to go do the Rings of Kafrine thing. I thought that was a nice scene between them. They toast all their guys by name and then their planets, which I thought was kind of cool. I think Bell, they didn't really give that character anything to do after Cinta died. It's like front and center, plot relevant, which I thought was weird because when we met her, until we saw Clea, I thought she was Luthen's right hand. Like she was like his operative in the field.
Yeah, because we haven't met Clea yet. We didn't meet Clea till later in season 1.
When we get into the show, like when we literally get
when
into the
she
shop.
tells Vale, like, you need to do this. You're not doing this.
Right. I'm clearly second in command, and you're just like the fist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I thought like they spent, like you said earlier, man, they spent effective time doing things to wrap things up, but it did feel like it was stretched to me. And like maybe they just had that actress like on contract for a certain number of episodes, and they just needed to give her shit to do. Like when she was doing weapons inspections the episode before,
pay or play type contract.
Right. Because they could have brought you in to do the whole. All right, whose weapon is this? Like that could have been you. That's what I'm saying. I mean, well, she got her girlfriend killed, kinda. But she
no, that was dude who brought her gun to an
floppy brown hair. But at least he had the good sense a year later to drive a truck into K2SO.
Yep. Who later became K.
Right. Yeah, she was a bit of a throwaway, I think. Which I mean, whatever. The cast of characters has 15,000 people on it. What can you do?
Yeah.
You know, you really can't. But
it is
banger show.
Great encompassing show. I cannot sing enough praises to this. So let's once again bring our glasses up.
Before I do that, I have one more. Hold on. Give me one more. One more thing I want to mention.
Okay.
Because it was the one thing that I thought felt out of place. And then I remembered who Bail Organa was. And Bail Organa, of course, is around during the Clone Wars and knows Kenobi and knows Anakin and is familiar with Jedi and all that kind of stuff. So when he has that chat with Andor, the private chat, and then they come to their, they resolve their differences, whatever. Yeah. And he says, "May the Force be with you." It seemed a little out of place to me until I remembered, Bail Organa's been around the Jedi in like their alleged prime.
Yeah, because he's the one who saved Kenobi.
Right. You know what I mean? So like it's not that out of place that he would say that. So then I got to thinking that's kind of a nice nod to like old Star Wars in a way. And then the big one, right? I had happened to leave the broadcast on when I was watching it. I was, finishing up stuff on the computer. If you watch through the credits, it does all the new stuff. It does all like the regular Andor theme stuff, but then it breaks into classic John Williams medley. It's the only episode in all 20 episodes of this show that do that, which I thought was pretty badass. Like snuck right in there. They run through a medley for like a minute and a half, and then it wraps up on Andor's theme, and then it goes out. And like, that's an Easter egg I'm down for. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
There's only two things that make me sad about this show. Only two things. One, that was a series finale. That's the end. Yep. And two, it has Kathleen Kennedy as the executive producer on the front of it.
Yeah, but so does Goonies and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and
that's before we knew who she was.
Yeah, true. But she didn't have anything to do with those either.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Schmitz is 100% a better actor than Benjamin Bratt, but I think Benjamin Bratt gave the character
fine recast.
Yeah,
a fine recast. Just shit didn't get in the way. That'd be the thing. Like, imagine if he showed up and put like a Mark Hamill spin on it. I'm Bail Organa. like no, dude, just be the guy. All you have to do is steeple your hands, wear a cloak,
and speak speak with authority, but not
not say tear the shit out of that place though. Don't do that because that was stupid.
Tear the shit out of that place.
That might have been the dumbest thing in the series because that was fucking stupid. Dude, 25 episodes. That was the dumbest shit anybody's ever said on this show. But yeah, I was happy to see the musical. I'll say I wish there was more coming to this show. it chaps my ass to no end that they're going to take the wrong lesson away from the viewership numbers on this show. They're not going to acknowledge brand damage. They're going to be like, I don't know. We spent $500 million on this not woke, not pew-pews and laser sword shows, and nobody watched it. Like, yeah, but you know what? There's not 40,000 videos on YouTube talking about how fucking sorry-ass excuse of a show it is.
And viewership is going up with word of mouth. I just wish the word of mouth started sooner than the last 6 episodes.
And we can't defend them 100% of the way, because remember, they still opened, just like season 1, on 3 of the slowest episodes of the series. You know what I mean? And I think everybody that's enjoyed this down the stretch has been like, oh, dude, once you get to episode 4, I'm like, maybe we could rectify that in the future. Dude, where you're sitting perfectly positioned in front of the Rebel Alliance, it looks like you have a Minnie Mouse bow behind your head. It's really funny. And now we're going to go ahead and screen grab. There it is. All right. So, yeah. I wish there was more coming to this, too. So, what we're going to get next. Oh, hold on. The critical success will frame it in a different light, and it will not disappear after a year. People will seek it out. Dude, but did they seek out Andor 1? And if that were the case, why didn't they show up for Andor 2? I want to believe that desperately. I really do. But it doesn't seem to be the reality here. And Daredevil's going to get the same treatment. Like, that show in 10 episodes didn't crack the Nielsen's in any of them. So great. You've got season 2 greenlit. Great. You got Kristen Ritter coming back. Word of mouth is it's probably not as positive overall as Andor's is, because I've not seen anything negative about Andor besides a criticism that it's slow. But people don't bitch about the messaging. People don't bitch about the politics, the performances, the effects. All the money looks like it's on screen.
Yep.
So all of that should apply, but it didn't last time.
There's nothing wrong with this show. This show should be number 1 on the Nelson through and through, especially if you love spy thrillers, if you love Star Wars, because Star Wars doesn't need Jedi. Jedi need Star Wars.
Fact.
And this show proves it. This is what I want. Repair brand. Yeah.
You can read that one out. That's 100% right. And
it starts to repair the brand damage if they're smart enough to see it and ride this wave of better than than messaging. Just Star Wars wasn't built for messaging. Star Wars was built to be a space opera western.
Escapist fantasy. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
100%.
So what I want to see is Tony Gilroy get together, get 3 seasons, 15 episodes each, and tell us what happened after what is that last movie called? Rise of Palpatine.
Oh, dude, why?
Because I want to see. I don't want the Jedi in it. I want to see the power grab and the politics of what happened in between. That's what he's good at. He doesn't need Jedi to tell his story. We don't need to hear about Rey except for maybe in like a news article somewhere. I want to see what happens in that power vacuum.
You're talking about in a world where the new Republic is still basically nuked from the hyperspace Death Star thing.
Yep.
And also the First Order is gone.
Yep, the First Order's defeated as much as it is because they came and they kicked Palpatine's butt again on his planet.
I mean, that all works. That all works, but you need two pieces of foundation there for that to work. You need a compelling villain, and it can't be anything connected to Kylo Ren or Vader. Like you just
brand new villain.
Right? And then the other half is you actually need world building that makes sense up front, that aren't just little words on screens as you jump to 12 different planets in rapid fire succession. That was one of the biggest problems at Rise of Puke Walker. Was that every 5 minutes you were somewhere else on the next side quest following the yellow line to get the next MacGuffin, so you didn't have time to process or absorb anything.
Exactly. Tell the story right. You have the remnants of the New Republic. You like the Rangers wasn't on. They're not on Coruscant, so you have them. You could have like a couple carriers that are out there like doing relief aid, and now they have to get back into military footing. You could have so much fun with that, and I think if you had Tony Gilroy do something like that, I think that with Andor to completely repair brand damage, and then you get back into Jedi story.
I don't know about
stories.
I don't know about completely repair. It's on the way, but we've said that, both of us, about Marvel and Disney and Star Wars a billion times. You can't just have Deadpool and Wolverine and be like, oh, we're back. You literally need like 4 or 5 things in a row that accomplish moderate to major successes, like Pape was saying, and get people to recognize it. Because one show that gets ignored, and then guess what? Ahsoka season 2 comes out in 2 months. Yay! Nobody cares, dude. I'm only watching because they got the Hound from Game of Thrones.
And
that's
Braylon Straw's character's story arc.
And the arc, right? I'm in it to see that actor do that story arc. And the minute it smells like it's going to be focused on non-Jedi Ezra Bridger, oh, here, take the lightsaber. I don't need it. Oh, shit, we're surrounded. I wish I had a weapon. Like, no, dog. I can't do that again. I just can't. And, dude, I also agree with Pape. I saw that out the corner of my eye. You're going to get it. You're going to get a Starfighter, which hopefully is X-Wing Squadron-esque. It won't be, but I mean, at least you're getting a fighter pilot. But that, to King's point, you very well could do Rebel Alliance Flight Academy X-Wing Squadron. Did I have the effing book? Oh, never mind. That's Battle Surgeons. I was reading Battle Surgeons. I think I have Rebel. I have one of the X-Wing books over there. You absolutely could do stuff like that, dude. Give me the real tales from the underworld. Give me actual crime syndicate shit with who was Prince Shizor's cartel? Black Sun. They were featured in like the game. I think that was Dash Rendar's name on the N64. Yeah, but that's King's point. Star Wars is a setting. It's not a genre. So you can do different things in different places. I'd still like to see Tony Gilroy handle one Jedi character who's there lurking, like kind of like Aragorn in Fellowship of the Ring. You don't know who he is up front. You just know he's got some game, and then the saber comes out at a critical mission point somewhere in the 2/3 part of the plot. But it's never Vader and Skywalker related. It's never Order 66 related.
But that goes against our whole thing with like so many Jedi surviving Order 66.
Then just give me Force user that's not a Jedi, or give me Force user that finds the ancient holocron and does some self-teaching because he wants to be a Jedi. We could spitball storyboard this days.
The Hunt for the Jedi, where they have to find a lost Jedi temple to try to restart the Order.
Give me a MacGuffin, and then you get there and it's not there, and you realize the Force was in you the whole time. Print it and ship it, dude. Easy. We can do this. We'll call Pape. He seems like he knows this stuff too. He knows how to have fun with Star Wars. Yeah, dude. But I wish there was more coming to Andor. I really do. It's annoying that this is the end of the road, because you know they're going to greenlight Ahsoka season 25.
Yeah,
you're not getting the Acolyte season 2, bitches. That ain't happening. That's never happening, ever. The petition peaked at what? 60,000?
78,000.
Something like that. But what was the?
And that's worldwide.
What was the "Don't Bring It Back" petition after a week?
I think it broke like 300,000 after everything.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, hold your breath. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, I went to Target earlier. You know how many Acolyte toys I saw? 0. You know how many Luke's X-Wings I saw in the box? All of them. Forget it. Acolyte's cooked. But all right, dude. I think we've gone on long enough here on a Sunday night. So, hey, we appreciate you dropping in, dude. I'm glad we didn't spoil anything for you. If you want to go back and check out the earlier analysis and point out stuff we missed, I'd appreciate it. Appreciate you guys liking and subbing and all that good stuff.
Well, go ahead and put that beautiful man back on the screen.
Yeah, I'm out of ammo, but I'll give him a tip of the water bottle. Yeah.
Once again, great job there, Tony Gilroy. Thank you for 24. It's great episodes.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you. All right.
Well,
sweet.
It looks like I'm out of rum. Saying what
that
means. It's time to say goodnight. So, see ya.